Okay, welcome to the God Shot on suicide. Um, a lot of these God Shots have been inspiring and uplifting, and I also wanted to have a few about dealing with realities that are not so maybe happy to talk about. But suicide is a serious issue, um, especially among young people. They say that suicide is the second biggest reason why young people end up dying, and the number one reason is accidents. But police believe a lot of accidents are really suicides, but there was no proof, no note left behind, no message on the computer. So we're dealing with something serious here, and my ministry with young people has always been to keep it real and to help anybody, especially anybody who's in a crisis. So if you've tuned into this, I'm really happy to have my friend, a trained therapist in marriage and family counseling, Cindy Garcia, because I want to make sure I give you the best advice possible if suicide is an issue for you, and that's why you've tuned in, or for someone you care about. So, Cindy, I'm going to pass it off to you. Suicide, permanent solution to a temporary problem, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. But talk to me, talk to the young people or adults even who are watching this. What advice do you have for anybody that has thoughts of suicide?
Mhm. If you're having thoughts of suicide, trust me, this is very common. I don't want you to think that you're crazy or that you're like out of the ordinary. Sadly, it is very ordinary to have suicidal thoughts. There is a big difference, though. I want people to understand between having the thoughts of like, oh, there's no point in living. I wish like I would just die versus you have a plan in place. Like there's actual intent and there's an actual plan. Like, oh, I know that my dad keeps the shotgun downstairs and I know the code. Or my mom has maybe she's taking sleeping medication. I'll just overdose on that. If you've taken the time to think it through of how you will accomplish this, then please, if you know someone that has intent and has a plan, please call 911. And that is a really serious note because I'll say it for two reasons. One, if the family finds out that you, as a person, knew that their daughter or their son was suicidal and you did nothing, one, they can sue you. It's not just therapists that can get sued, an individual can get sued as well. But also, you don't want that on your conscience, and your friend or your colleague or your family member, whoever it is, might be upset at you in that moment. But how Tony said this is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, they will be temporarily mad at you. But then down the line, they will be like, okay, had it not been for them, I would not be here. So I kind of owe them my life. Like, I guess God was speaking like through them to
Mhm.
keep me safe. So if you know someone that has a plan or intent, and let's say you have them on the phone and maybe you hear the pill bottle drop or you hear the cocking of the gun, like please hang up that phone call right then and there and call 911 and send them right to their address to keep them safe.
Okay. Thank you for saying that, Cindy. I'm very passionate about this because unfortunately, in my ministry, I've been at too many funerals of a dead teenager and watching their friends freaking out because that teenager had said that they were going to do that, but their friends were, what do we call it? Magical thinking. They think that somehow the worst thing won't possibly happen. And
Yeah.
now here their friend is gone and they knew, and it's unbearable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And then when that happens, that individual themselves is they have something called survivor's guilt. We call that in therapy, it's survivor's guilt. You feel guilty that you are alive because like, oh, I didn't take them seriously. Like they told me they were going to and I didn't take it seriously. So you really don't want that on your
no,
conscience.
it's
So
too much to live with. It's too much
yeah,
to live with. Uh,
definitely, definitely.
and it's true that when it comes to suicide, if you're alerting someone to the danger that someone's in, sometimes you lose the friendship to save the friend.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And sadly, I have seen that happen. Luckily, not often in treatment. I have
Mhm.
had to process with a person, their angry or resentment feelings towards that person who had to call 911. But
Uh-huh.
then after a while of them, like fixing their cognitions around that event, they've come to the point where now it's like, now I owe them my life, so they kind of feel like there's a debt they have to pay, and like now they feel like I owe them my life, so like I should make it worth living. Like I should live it to the fullest potential because I was given a second chance thanks to this individual.
Cindy, one of the biggest signs that you're pointing out that a person truly is in danger and they're not just looking for attention is that they've got the plan. Would you
Mhm.
say that if a person has already previously made a suicide attempt and is now talking suicide again, that automatically means that they could be in danger?
Yes, definitely. If there is a past history, then the individual who's helping them or their friend or whatever, you should definitely be on high alert. Anyone who has that in their history is usually always prone to doing it again and actually acting out on it. So you should definitely be careful. And we have something in therapy called a safety plan, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a plan to keep the individual safe. I usually have my cases that come into my office that are suicidal. We immediately come up with a safety plan, even if they're not presently suicidal. Just the fact that they have it in their record, I'm like, no, we need to have a safety plan in place for in case, God forbid, those feelings and thoughts come back. And it starts with you have to write the individual's name. They are going to explore what things tend to trigger them and what symptoms usually appear when they're suicidal, and the three people that they can contact when they are feeling like that so that they don't act on their feelings. And they have to write down the person's like their name and their phone number, and then I have them sign it and I sign it myself. And I know it's just a piece of paper, but sometimes people having that in front of them is like, oh, wait. I'm supposed to call Billy right now. I'm supposed to call Samantha right now. And then it kind of wakes them up like, oh, wait, yeah, I forgot. I'm not alone. I have these resources that I had agreed that I was going to do and reach out to in these types of crisis moments.
Right. So I guess you would say that if a person wouldn't make you a promise that they're not going to do anything to hurt themselves, that if they feel like they want to, they're going to let you or someone else they can trust know. If a person will make you that promise, that's danger, right? I take that very serious.
Yes. I have them make me that promise. And I will say this to anyone who's under the age of 18 and is in therapy. Um, we, as licensed counselors, we have to report. We have to disclose and report whenever you are making a suicidal gesture. Either if you're going to hurt yourself or someone else, we need to report it, meaning we have to let your parents know. And I have had instances, sadly, in my office where someone has been suicidal. They have walked me through the plan, and I have not let them leave the room. And I will call 911 and EMS usually, which is emergency medical service. They usually come into the office and they will take my client into the emergency room, and my client will be admitted to the psychiatric hospital for 48 hours for observation. But if they feel that the individual is still unstable, then they need to stay for at least a week.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So everybody watching this video, you've gotten the knowledge, of course, now that this is serious business. You always take a suicide seriously. Sometimes people say, oh, they're looking for attention. Well, even if they are, that's a pretty warped way of getting attention and they need help. So if it feels like too heavy for you to like, I got to call 911, I'm 14. Um, then get a parent involved. Get somebody who you can trust to make the call with you or to be there with you as you go through it. Don't navigate it alone. Do not ever, feel, especially if you're younger, you don't have to have the skills to keep a suicidal person alive. Put that in the hands of someone who knows more than you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Don't abandon your friend, or family member, be there for them, but don't ever feel it's all on your head. If you're 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old and somebody is talking like this, okay, make sure someone else gets involved. Right, Cindy?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess some statistics, if you're talking to a male, they are more likely to do it than a woman. There have been more studies shown what Tony said, attention seeking. Sometimes women, when they have done it, it is not attention seeking, it's a cry for help. And but men, it's I believe 2 out of every 3 males who commit suicide actually follow through and actually commit suicide fully. So if you're talking to a male on the phone and he sounds suicidal, you should definitely be more alert. But how Tony said, you might not be of the age or trained enough to deal with that. So please go to the nearest person that's an adult that you can trust to help you navigate that situation, because that is too much for you to bear on your own. So
Right?
please just don't feel like you need to carry that alone, because that is a very heavy weight to carry.
Yeah. When I first started this ministry with youth, I didn't have this knowledge. And there was a young person that really, now that I've learned, had 2 signs that a person has made the decision to take their life. One is that they start giving away all their personal stuff. If you know of somebody doing that and they're not maybe talking, taking their life, but they're doing that action, red flags should go up and red lights go shining and sirens blaring that that's danger. And the second thing that I learned from that one tragic incident that I really didn't read the signs was that if nothing has changed in their life that's caused them to want to die, and but they all of a sudden are acting all happy and the circumstances haven't changed, but they're acting like everything's fine now, it could be a sign that they are maybe feeling better because they have come to understand that they have a plan to stop the pain that they're in. And not so if you know somebody, you know the circumstances didn't get better, but they're all of a sudden acting like everything's fine. That's not something to say, oh, it's to be concerned about. Right, Cindy?
Definitely. And also, I guess I should add other, I guess, red flags that should go off is if you know someone that is currently self-harming. When I say self-harming, I mean maybe cutting themselves, burning themselves. I know some clients that actually like to like pull out their eyebrows or like pull out their hairs. I know some that like to slap themselves in the face, punch themselves in the legs, hit themselves with objects. Like if there's anyone that has self-harming type of behavior, oh, and eating is also some of that. Like if they're overeating, that's a self-harming behavior. And if they're restricting themselves from eating, like basically anorexia or bulimia, which is where you regurgitate your food, you make yourself throw up. Like if you know anyone that's doing any type of self-harming behavior, that is also a red flag. That sadly, more often than not, people who display self-harming behaviors usually become suicidal and start to have suicidal thoughts or make suicidal
Ooh,
threats.
okay, that's good. That's good knowledge.
Mhm.
Okay, Cindy, thanks. And again, if anybody watching this, please, if you're on the younger side of life, make sure an adult that you can trust is going through this with you. You never want to feel like it's all on your head. Don't ever have somebody express something of a suicidal nature, and then you can't you're tossing and turning, you can't sleep, and then you try. It's the middle of the night and you try texting them and they don't answer, is it because they're sleeping or are they gone? You don't want to live like that. You don't want to live, I hope to God I go to school tomorrow and they're there. You just don't do that to yourself. Okay? So get help with that for yourself. If you are suicidal, I mean, I'm hoping to God this God shot saves lives. So I want you to spread it around to people you know. The advice that Cindy is giving is really solid, and let this be one that goes all over the place. If you're a teacher or you're an adult or you have a youth group or something, this little bit of knowledge you've gotten can be a lot, actually. It can save lives. So thank you for tuning in. Cindy, thanks for all your help and your advice for these people that are watching today.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
God bless everybody.